to this computer. All right, well, welcome and thank you everyone for joining us for this Kerby's second presentation in our month-long series of presentations on infectious disease, immunization, and staying healthy in body and mind, powered by Sanofi Pasteur. As we gather here today, it's vital to remember the peoples who've gathered here for millennia. This is the Treaty 7 land of the Indigenous peoples of Southern Alberta, the Blackfoot nations of Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, and the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda nations of Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wellesley, and the historic home of the Northwest Métis and Métis nations of Alberta Region 3. It is with the goal of reconciliation that we acknowledge the land on which we gather, and we thank the elders of these nations for their timeless contributions to this land. We know that the past 9 months have been particularly difficult for our seniors, and many of you have had very genuine concerns about how to lower your risk and maintain good health in the midst of this pandemic and the upcoming influenza season. Over the next few weeks, with the support of Sanofi Pasteur and several renowned medical professionals, we will hope to answer some of these questions for you to provide you with the information that you need. This morning, we are very pleased to welcome back, by popular demand, nutritionist Megan Barefoot to show you how to empower your life through healthy eating for immunity, highlighting the importance of the benefit of good nutrition during this pandemic and influenza season. Megan Barefoot graduated with BSc in Science from the University of Windsor and worked in downtown Calgary as a professional geologist for nearly 10 years. After having children, she discovered the power of nutrition to get herself and her family to optimal health. She attended and graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York, where she learned innovative coaching methods, practical lifestyle management techniques, and over 100 dietary theories. She also studied at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, the most established science-based Canadian natural health school, where she learned to connect the symptoms experienced to systems of the body, and then balance the systems through whole foods to help clients achieve their health goals. Most recently, Megan trained with Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride to become a certified gut and psychology syndrome practitioner. While studying and working with clients to change their intestinal health, Megan has become a lover of all foods that feed the microbiome and love to introduce clients to gut goodies. As a nutrition expert, mom, and seasoned practitioner, Megan knows how difficult eating healthy can be in real life. Megan strives to make the process of learning how to feed you and your body's needs as simple as possible with small changes that make a big impact. Megan, tell us why healthy eating is so important, particularly now.
Well, that's a really great question. It's always been important, but this year we have definitely been pushed to the limits. Our bodies have been pushed to the limits. Our immune systems, we have to take care of them. And one of the simplest ways we can do that is by taking care of our nutrition and making sure we're feeding our body what it needs in order to fight the good battle. We are not just fighting off colds and flus this year. We also have this elusive COVID-19 that we have been battling for the last 6 months. And so there are some little things that we can do every single day that can help us fight that battle. Are we ready to get into the nitty-gritty of it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Colleen, for having me back in the Kerby Center. I would just like to share my screen here, and we can get on with the presentation. So, thank you to the Kerby Center for allowing me the opportunity to spread the importance of nutrition as a key component of our health. Just to expand on Colleen's introduction, nutrition has, of course, been something I've been passionate about my entire life. But over the last little while, I have been even more passionate because of course, everything that we have been facing here in the 2020. My plan with nutrition is not just to live a long, healthy life, but I want to live my life long and well. I want to live and be able to actually go out and do things and not be watch my body deteriorate. I love being a health ambassador and supporting individuals in making specific practical nutrition changes for their personal health needs. So, today we will be talking about empowered eating for immunity. As we age, there are some natural changes that occur in the body. Some of these include normal wear and tear of our teeth and a slowdown of our digestive system. Some of the common issues we face as we age are due to lifestyle choices and not so great nutrition choices that catch up with us over time. So, at this stage in COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure we've all heard and hopefully understand what we are facing. But this is not the only virus we will face this year. There are colds and flus that our body will battle, and we can never be too prepared. There are some specific barriers to seniors that I would like to review and discuss today. We will get into the nutrients and foods that will support the immune system so that we can fight our best fight against any bug that comes at us. And I want to discuss the role that stress plays and some ways we can improve our mental wellness. Finally, I will let you know how I can help at No Shoes Nutrition when questions and concerns come up. Okay, so what is this coronavirus and why are we social distancing? Just to make sure that we're all on the same page, the COVID-19 pandemic is because of the coronavirus. This virus is spread through direct contact with infected patients or by breathing in someone's cough or sneeze. This is why we are social distancing. It's to keep our germs to ourselves and to stay away from other people's germs too. I know that in the older segment, there are some pre-existing conditions such as cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, lung issues, respiratory issues, and that puts people at a higher risk. The 65-year-old plus population is more at risk for all common viruses that we are exposed to every single year. And it's important to note that by 2050, 1 in 5 people on this planet will be over the age of 60. We need to start taking care of ourselves. And nutrition is a great place to start. So, what are we doing to prevent the spread and transmission of COVID? First, we're social distancing. If we don't have to go out, we don't. We keep a 2-meter distance from anyone not in our home, and we wear a mask if we do go out for any reason at all. Second, we want to practice personal hygiene, hand washing after touching anything that someone outside our circle may have touched, avoiding our eyes, mouth, and nose. And I have never been so cognizant of how much I touch my face as doing these webinars and presentations and Zoom meetings because I see myself touching my face all the time. But another thing you can do is work on your proper nutrition. We will talk much more about that and specific foods that can help boost your immune system. Managing your stress and getting proper sleep is also really important, but I know this is always easier said than done. But there are a few things that we can put into practice and a few foods to avoid, and maybe even some we can add to help us get some better sleeps. And finally, physical activity. Now, this does not mean that I want you to get out and hit the gym as hard as you can, and go for a run. But what I do want you to do is maintain that physical fitness that you have. Get outside, get out for a little walk, stand up, walk around the house, and get that lymph system, the lymph flowing in your body. That's what houses the immune system, and we need to keep that moving. In fact, moving your body is the only way to get that lymph system moving. So it's necessary and important to keep ourselves healthy. Okay, so did you know There are several factors that impact the seniors that result in 40% of the population over the age of 65 with malnutrition. You do not have to be part of that statistic, but to avoid malnutrition, we need to look at certain barriers. For many seniors, we find that there is a reduction in mobility. It's not as easy to get around as much, and the result is less appetite and a reduced ability to shop and prepare their meals. Another issue is medications. For some chronic issues, these medications might reduce your appetite or create cravings for less than stellar foods. The meds can change your digestion, they can deplete minerals and vitamins in the body, and often individuals are on more than one medication at a time and can have several side effects. We also want to consider oral health because that can be an issue for some. Chewing certain foods like meats can be very difficult, and when chewing is impaired, digestion is affected. You need to be able to chew your food in order to get those digestive juices flowing and to get everything moving through your system. This often results in individuals reaching for easy and convenient foods that may not be quite as nutritious. So, many seniors I've worked with complain that foods just don't taste like they used to. Some have reduced appetite because of this, and some even experience a sour or a bitter aftertaste with certain foods. Even others might have mouth sores or ulcers that we need to consider. Then there's finances, which can be a huge concern. Right now, I know this isn't just a concern for seniors, but for many individuals. It can be difficult to think about making those healthy choices when junk foods and processed foods fit into a budget much easier. And finally, something many of us have been feeling lately, but definitely more common in the senior population on a regular basis, is isolation and depression because of that isolation. Often there is a loss of appetite, and with the isolation, there is an impaired ability to shop and prepare healthy meals. Single servings are very difficult, and preparing meals for single servings can also be very difficult. The Kerby Center has several programs that we're going to talk about at the end of this that can help seniors if they're dealing with any of these barriers. When we talk about nutrition for individuals in the senior population, there are certain factors that we really need to consider. First off is bone health. Stomach acid production naturally decreases as we age. When this occurs, it's harder to absorb many of the minerals necessary to support proper bone health. These minerals include things like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. We also want to be sure we're getting enough vitamin D. And vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin, of course, but it is near impossible in Calgary to get enough vitamin D from the sun. So we'll talk more about how to ensure we're getting vitamin D from our food, and if sometimes it may be a supplement as well. We also want to consider heart health. With a decrease in oral health comes difficulty chewing, and along with the decrease in stomach acid, protein doesn't always get digested and absorbed optimally. Without protein, most seniors will start to lose muscle mass, and most important muscle of all is our heart. So the heart also needs those minerals we talked about before for bone health. The calcium and magnesium help keep the rhythm in the beat. So once again, we need to ensure we have proper digestion. And finally, immune health. We talked a bit about movement and the lymphatic system of the body, but there are several vitamins that we want to make sure we're getting to support the proper functioning of our immune system and to make sure we can fight off any of the bugs that we just can't avoid. So let's get started with the basics. First, protein. We talked a little bit about adequate protein. We need it to build muscles, tissues, and protein is also used for those antibodies that we use in our immune system to kill off those bugs. Another great thing protein does is help keep our blood sugar stable. And when our blood sugar is low, there's less inflammation in the body and everything just works and feels so much better. So, where can we get protein? The obvious source for many people would be meat, but if meat doesn't feel great for your body, then a meat stock is another option. Beans and legumes can be easier to chew, but as we know, maybe not always easier to digest. Eggs are a great option as well, and nuts and seeds. If nuts and seeds are a little bit hard to chew, one of the ways that I love to soften them is to soak them overnight in water. This actually sprouts the little seeds and helps you get more nutrients out of them as well. One of my favorite snacks is sprouted almonds. I just keep a jar in my fridge all the time of almonds soaking, and it's super easy to grab a handful. Another thing we want to talk about is healthy fats. Many of us have been conditioned to fear fats, but there are healthy fats that not only are important for us, but they should be eaten regularly. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important for immunity as well as our cognitive health. And it's really difficult to get enough of these omega-3s in our diet alone. Fats are great, again, for balancing our blood sugar and for reducing inflammation, including inflammation from arthritis. You can find those healthy fats in wild caught fish and flax seeds and walnuts, especially. Finally, fiber. This is the most important factor to consider. It's important to keep us eliminating regularly and to feed that microbiome that Colleen was telling you I loved so much right in the beginning. It's a natural way for us to detoxify our body and also keep our blood sugar balanced. And I know when most people hear about fiber, what comes to mind is chewy cardboard. Let's be honest, it's not something that we all really reach for as a snack. But one of the superpowers of fiber is that it helps regulate our cholesterol levels. So, again, super important. If you eat lots of whole fruits, not juiced, they must be whole fruits, lots of vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, you will not have enough, you will not have a problem getting enough. If you want to get some healthy fats and a lot of fiber, try some avocado on a sprouted grain piece of toast. It's a great breakfast and it'll keep your blood sugar level and keep you going all day long. So, now, I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I know there's a lot on the slide. We're going to take it one at a time, and we're going to go through some nutrients that are really important and some ways to get these nutrients into your body. So first, I want to start with the B vitamins. There are several B vitamins that are important for immunity. First is folate, or B9, which will help keep those cells dividing and is thought to actually slow the aging process. B6 is important for your metabolism and keep your metabolism moving. B12 is important for that cardiovascular system and nerve health and can be only found in animal protein, which is often deficient in those that find it more difficult to prepare and consume meats. Or if you have chosen to be vegetarian or vegan, it's important to supplement B12. If you find that you're low on energy, a lot of people might think that they're low on iron. However, these B vitamins are water soluble, which basically means you can pee them out, and they're also used up very quickly during times of high stress. So, supplementing them can be a great way to ensure you're getting enough. They come as a complex, so you don't have to take a huge handful of capsules. And I definitely recommend you talk to your pharmacist about the best choice for you. You can get plenty of B vitamins in many foods. Whole grains, going back to that avocado with healthy fat and fiber, it's a great source of B vitamins as well. Lots of dark green leafy vegetables, and of course, those lean meats for the B12. Next, let's talk about vitamin C. It's probably the most well known vitamin, but it also feels a little bit like the most underrated vitamin. We know that we can get vitamin C from citrus fruit, but for anyone who might have some blood sugar balancing issues, eating lots of fruit might not be your best choice. Many colorful vegetables like red peppers are also a great source of vitamin C. This vitamin is extremely important for immunity for sure. We've been hearing that since we were very little people, but vitamin C is also super important for collagen production, which helps us heal wounds and help us stay young and beautiful. Vitamin C is used up extremely fast during times of sickness or stress, so it's important for the production of neurotransmitters in our brain, and it can help us stay happy and stable in life as well. By getting plenty of vitamin C, you can also reduce your risk of cataracts. So, eating lots of veggies and lots of varieties of veggies, you can get plenty of vitamin C. However, you need to keep in mind that if you cook all your veggies, you are losing vitamin C. So, make sure you're having a few raw veggies and a bit of citrus, like a squeeze of lemon juice in your water, to add that vitamin C every single day. Vitamin D, we talked a little bit about already, is our sunshine vitamin, and it's necessary for our bone health, but also our brain health and regulating blood sugar as well. You can get vitamin D from sun exposure, but let's be honest, we're not all out sunbathing this time of year. So, and we also need to practice safe sun exposure. So, getting some wild caught fish like cod is a great, but honestly, I truly recommend supplementing this vitamin daily. You can get it in little vials of drops that you can put on just about anything, and you can't taste it, so you won't even know it's there. Vitamin D also helps boost that immune system, so it's very important for optimal health. When we look at vitamin E, which is up here, this vitamin is important for that immune system too. It's a potent blood thinner, so it's also important for cardiovascular health. It supports tissues in the respiratory system, and again, it's going to lower the risk of cataracts. Eating those soaked nuts and seeds, and again, getting some avocado daily, spinach, and trout can ensure you're getting plenty of vitamin E. Vitamin K is a lesser known vitamin, but you will be definitely getting enough if you eat those green leafy vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Vitamin K helps support with blood clotting. So if you get a wound, it will stop bleeding. It's also super important for your bone health. I think there's a definite pattern showing up here with the foods that I think we should concentrate on to get these important nutrients. And if you listen carefully, you'll recognize that they are all real foods and not very many of them come in a package. If we want to concentrate on bone health, there are 3 big minerals you want to ensure you're getting. That's your calcium, your magnesium, and your potassium. But did you know that these minerals are also super important for your muscles, including the most important muscle, the heart? Calcium controls blood pressure, it's stored in the matrix of the bones, and keeps that heart pumping properly. Magnesium not only supports bone health, but it's called the anti-stress mineral, and it will help your body relax. So if you're struggling with falling asleep, take your magnesium right before bed. Or try having an Epsom salt bath, which is high in magnesium, and it will allow your body to absorb that magnesium through the skin. It will help you relax and improve your sleep. If you deal with constipation, magnesium can help relax your bowels as well as soften your stool. Potassium works with calcium to regulate blood pressure and is important for kidney function and bone health. Because these minerals are so intertwined in the body, guess what Mother Nature did? She put them all in the right proportions in the same foods. So again, eating lots of those green leafy vegetables, fruits, some beans and legumes, as well as nuts and seeds will ensure you're getting calcium, magnesium, and potassium you need. And finally, we don't want to forget iron. It carries the oxygen through your blood from your lungs to your organs and muscles. So, if you are low on iron, you are likely feeling low on energy. This is definitely not something I would supplement without direction from your doctor or pharmacist. Fortunately, there are lots of delicious foods you can increase in your diet that can help. Remember Popeye the Sailor Man? That's right, more spinach. Seafood, and of course, some lean red meat and dark poultry will have more than enough iron in these than the lighter cuts of meat. Okay. So I hope that wasn't too overwhelming. We still have a couple more we need to go over. Zinc is one of the most important for your immune system. And remember how we talked about hydrochloric acid and stomach acid as we age and how that can decrease? Well, we need that zinc to make that stomach acid as well. So we want to make sure we are getting adequate zinc in our diet. Zinc is also important for immune health and again for wound healing. Lean meats, whole grains, beans, as well as nuts and seeds can provide enough zinc for your body's needs. And last but not least is water. Many of us wouldn't think twice about the importance of showering and keeping the outside of our body washed and clean. But for whatever reason I cannot put my finger on, it can be so difficult to get people to drink water and convince them that water is important to flush out and clean our inside. I really encourage you to drink 8 to 10 glasses of filtered water to help with elimination, detoxification, and every single process, including balancing your immune system and cardiovascular system. So, 8 to 10 glasses every single day will benefit your body. So let's recap a little bit here. We really want to concentrate on our ACEs, our ACE. We want to have some vitamin D, all the Bs, minerals like calcium, magnesium, potassium, and zinc. We want to ensure that we're getting adequate protein, healthy fats, and plenty of fiber. So you might ask me, hey, Megan, what does adequate mean? Well, adequate means different for every single person. And you just have to kind of figure that out by a little bit of experimentation with yourself. If you have a little more or a little bit less every day, you'll kind of figure out what feels right for your body. Also, keeping a food journal can help you figure out what you ate day one and compare that to day two and how you're feeling throughout the week. So I call it a food mood journal. So if you record your food and you record your mood and you feel really good eating certain foods one day and notice maybe a pattern of when you're not feeling so good eating other days, you can compare your food to your mood and make sure that you're eating the foods that help your body work properly, which is going to translate into a great mood every single day. So, we want to ensure we're getting all of this adequate protein, healthy fats, and plenty of fiber. So, where do we find all of this? The simple answer is nutrient dense, real food, the kind of food that has very little processing. The food that you will find by sticking to the outside perimeter of the grocery store. If you avoid all the boxes on the shelves, you can save money. You can get a bigger bang for your grocery bucks. Lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains. That means picking some sprouted grain bread instead of always getting that Wonder white bread, and having steel cut oats instead of processed cereals, picking lean, fresh cuts of meat. Less is more here. Remember that a serving of protein is only the size of the palm of your hand. And that if you want to have some of those nuts and seeds, we soak it in a bowl of water overnight. A serving is just the amount that will fit in the palm or the cup of your hand. Another point for optimum immune health is to reduce your stress as much as possible and improve your sleep. These two go hand in hand. And I recommend that every one of my clients work on a sleep routine. So, what does this mean? This means picking a specific bedtime that works for you and following the same routine every single night to prepare for sleep. This should include not drinking too much about 2 hours before you go to bed and maybe shutting off screens about an hour or two before bed as well. One of the things I find that works really well with screens is having these blue blocker glasses. So if I am going to be on my computer or watching a little TV, I put on my blue blocker glasses and it blocks the blue light that can be very stimulating for the brain. And that way I'm getting better sleeps. Getting enough sleep is a first great step to reducing stress in the body. Another thing to consider is getting a little exercise and sunshine every day. By making sure you get some sunshine on your face, it sends a signal to your brain and the chemicals that control your circadian rhythm. So, a little activity, whether that's getting your arms up in the air and moving while you watch your favorite program on TV, or getting some extra steps while you're walking around the kitchen, whatever you are capable of, nothing that will put you at risk of injury, but something a little extra to get your body and that lymph system moving can help with sleep too. It can boost your immune system and can help burn off those stress hormones. So, what's the bottom line here? If you consume specific nutrients and foods and implement a particular diet pattern, you can experience healthy aging and a positive impact on your health at any age. If you are overwhelmed, I can completely understand. I put a lot in this and there is a lot to take in today. But if you have specific nutritional needs, please feel free to reach out to me or ask some questions here. I work with individuals of any age all over the world and support them with their individual health goals. There is no one ideal diet that will fit for every single person. So sometimes it takes a little bit to figure out what's going to work for you. My email address is right here, megan@noshoesnutrition.com. If you have any questions now, I can answer those right away. Or if you feel a little shyer, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. And I know that I can answer if you have any questions. Please speak up because I'm sure it will benefit the group. So feel free to ask away. Thank you to everyone here that took the time to be here, and it was such a pleasure. And thank you, Colleen and the Kerby Center, for having me once again. Should I stop sharing here, Colleen? I think you're muted.
Thank you. Trying to be quiet for you there. And thank you very much. That was great information. I appreciate some of the information that you provided there that seems kind of interest to me specifically, personally, the anti-stress and the sleep ideas with taking the magnesium to help with that. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And we've got some questions coming in here from Kerty.
Should I stop the share, Colleen?
Sure.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
There we go. From Kerty, how much avocado should you have in one serving? Is having one whole avocado in one serving too much?
Well, that's going to depend on how your body processes that avocado. For some people, that's going to clean them right out with that healthy fat and the high fiber. I really suggest that you start with about a quarter of an avocado when you're starting out. See how your body handles that. One avocado a day is probably more than you actually need. I would have about a half an avocado maximum and add some other fruits and vegetables in order to get a variety of nutrients. But there's nothing to say that every once in a while indulging on that full avocado is going to hurt you, because it definitely won't.
And Marcia would like to know what you think of the paleo diet.
I'm going to be perfectly honest here and tell you that I am personally a huge fan of the paleo diet, and we're eating in a Paleolithic way. The reason that is because the Paleolithic diet really encourages eating real foods. And that's how we were conditioned to eat as we developed and evolved as human beings. There are some extremes to the paleo diet that I don't necessarily always follow. And I still think that there is a lot that you need to know about yourself and recognize what works for your body and what doesn't. So just really learning to listen to our bodies, because we really haven't been taught to listen to what's going on in our body, to know that there's signs and symptoms that come up before there's big issues. And if we start to feed our body properly, and even in a Paleolithic way, it is very beneficial for the body.
And Dennis says, thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you, Dennis.
And we have someone through chat here. Swati, does fermented food help to boost intestinal health?
Oh my goodness. Now you're going to get me going down a rabbit hole here. So I am a huge believer that fermented foods are extremely beneficial. If you look back in human history, every single culture that you can find has added some type of fermented food into their diet. If that fermented food is, it's possible for you to ferment that food in your own home, it's even more beneficial because you're taking the bacteria from your own environment and helping your body deal with those bacteria. The stronger we can have our microbiome, which for anyone who doesn't know what the microbiome is, every single one of us has about 5 to 8 pounds of bacteria living in our intestinal system. So think of yourself as a donut, okay? This is the outside of your body, but this tube going right down the middle of you is also the outside of your body. And inside that tube lives a whole ecology of bacteria and little baby bugs, I call them, that are either doing good for your health or not so good for your health. And we want to maintain the balance so that our good gut bugs are always in control and helping us digest and helping us fight off bacteria, bad bacteria, and viruses that get into our body. So back to fermented foods. Fermented foods are foods that have started, let's call it something like it's controlled rot, basically. Your food is basically, you're building a culture of bacteria that is very beneficial for your body and can help with the digestion. And it adds to the good gut bugs and helps support your immune system. And there's so much research just coming out. This is extremely cutting edge stuff. The University of Calgary now has a whole microbiome lab. Like I said, Colleen, we're going down a rabbit hole here. But in the bottom line is fermented foods are absolutely crucial to your health and can completely support your microbiome, your gut health, your intestinal health, but also your immune system. But we also have to recognize that there's a difference between pickled foods and fermented foods. So pickled foods are foods that have been pickled using vinegar and a lot of times sugar, whereas fermented foods are fermented in a brine. So if you get fermented cucumbers, which are like pickles, and pickled pickles, they taste very similar, but they're not going to have the same benefits for your body. You want to ensure that you're getting true fermented foods, which means you'll find them in the refrigerated section, not on a shelf in the grocery store. I hope that didn't just open a whole more can of worms of questions.
No, it seems that we have a group from Silvera joining us today.
Nice.
And they have just said excellent presentation from us at Silvera for Seniors.
Thank you so much for being here.
And Leanne would like to know, what is the story behind your business name?
So, lots of people ask me this question, and I love answering it. And if we go back to the very first introduction Colleen did, and you look at my name down here, my last name I inherited from my husband is Barefoot. And if you go and you try to Google anything Barefoot, the name has been taken for everything. So I kind of modified Barefoot into no shoes. and got back to my roots in the sense of I really believe in getting grounded, getting my feet, my hands dirty in the soil, having my own garden, getting that food that's real into my body, and back to wearing no shoes. So it all fit together really nicely when I came up with my business name. I love answering that question. Thank you.
And I love your font, how you have you branded yourself there.
Thank you.
And your fall apples. Very healthy. Anyone else have anything that they would like to add? While we're waiting to see if anybody else has another question there, one of the things that you did touch upon was the zinc and the importance of that for your immune system. When COVID was just kind of coming upon us, sorry, someone's just raised their hand there. And we were hearing about the importance of zinc in helping us to fight off COVID. And I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
The zinc is super important support for the immune system. One of the best ways you can get zinc is, or easiest ways, is to get some raw pumpkin seeds and sprout them, and it releases all the zinc. I don't necessarily believe it's great to supplement zinc all the time, but we all know that feeling of when you get like a little bit of scratchiness in your throat. That's when I would boost my zinc in a lot of ways. I would normally have it in a lot of my foods. I have my pumpkin seeds very regularly. Oysters, if you like oysters, also have a lot of zinc. I can't do it, but oysters are also a great option. Pumpkin seeds, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, supplementation. I would only supplement for a few days when you feel something coming on. And throughout, if you get a cold or a flu, trying to get a little extra zinc at that time for supplementation. Otherwise, just getting it in your daily diet is a great way to get enough zinc. And it's so important for ensuring that our immune system can battle the good battle, fight the good fight.
Maureen is asking how to add fiber,
Fiber, yes.
in a gluten-free diet.
Are we talking gluten-free or grain-free? Because if we're just gluten-free, there's a lot of options. In fact, fruits, vegetables, and a lot of the brassica vegetables are very good if you're totally grain-free. You can also add nuts and seeds. Psyllium is a great way to get a little extra if you're looking to get a little extra. It's gluten-free and easy to add. If you're not talking completely grain-free and just gluten-free, there are lots of gluten-free grains you can also get. Oats, for example, steel-cut oats, just make sure they're from a gluten-free facility. Is a great option, as well as quinoa, which is a complete protein as well. So something I forgot to mention is if you are struggling with meat and digesting meat or chewing meat, quinoa is a complete protein that is very easy to digest and very easy to cook. It only takes 15 minutes. It's high in fiber and it's a complete protein.
I remember when you spoke previously about the importance of chewing your food as well, and how long you should chew your food.
Yeah, many people don't realize, and it completely revolutionized my digestion for me when I learned the importance of chewing. I went to nutrition school and I thought I'm going to learn all these profound and wonderful things. And one of the first things we did on our first week was learn about the importance of chewing. And I was blown away. When you chew your food, it signals your stomach and all your enzymes in your small intestine to be released. So your hydrochloric acid is released, your enzymes are released for digestion. a lot of us get really busy. We're eating on the run. We're not sitting. We're not chewing. We're just, shoveling it in there. And we don't chew and we get big chunks, which makes it a lot harder on our digestive system and a lot harder on our microbiome, which is trying to help us break down those foods for nutrients as well. So when we chew, it also instigates peristalsis, which is that squeezing of our intestinal system that moves everything through our system from top to bottom. And when we don't chew, that doesn't happen as easily. So things get kind of bulked up in there, and that's when constipation can be an issue, which is something I didn't know I dealt with for years and years and years until I started chewing my food and then realized how much more regular I was, and it was fascinating for me. It was so great.
And you did touch upon the fact that it can be a challenge for older adults to be
Absolutely. Yeah.
properly. So also important for us to look after our dental health. I think I've got a couple more questions here.
And just the act of chewing as well. So a lot of people will grab a shake in the morning for breakfast, or a protein shake in the afternoon for a snack, and that is not being chewed. You're just sucking that back. So I recommend to a lot of my clients, you actually chew while you're drinking those shakes as well. Even though you're not actually chewing anything, the act of just chewing will release saliva and all your gastric juices all the way down.
Is it recommended to chew gum?
Depends on the gum. So a lot of gums have not so great ingredients in them, but I do like chewing gum as an option. I recommend a brand called Pure. It's Pur, and you can actually, weirdest place I found it for the best price it's been Winners, actually. At the checkout at Winners, you can get like every flavor, but it has no aspartame or kind of detrimental chemicals that I really hate with gum, but it gives you that option of chewing as well. And they also have mints that are great.
I think I've seen them in the checkout line. I think it was Philip, the gentleman that raised his hand. I've lost you somehow. So if you have a question, perhaps you can pop it into the Q&A or chat. In the meantime, Tazim would like to know what you think of kefir. Should I take it every day?
So kefir is another fermented food, which I love if you can tolerate it, because a lot of kefir is done on milk. You can also get kefir coconut water, kefir waters, which if you can't tolerate dairy can be just as beneficial. And again, it's going to introduce a lot of great bacteria into your body, beneficial bacteria into your body that can really help boost that immune system. So I actually love it. You only need about a quarter of a cup or a little shot glass every single day. You can also try adding in some kombucha. The kefir is great. There's lots of, even sour cream is another option if you like the dairy option for fermented foods, sauerkraut, fermented veggies, all great options.
You mentioned the shot of kefir. I've heard people regularly taking a shot of apple cider vinegar to help with their digestion. Is that something that you
So
recommend?
I would never take a shot of apple cider vinegar alone. So what I would do is take about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and put it in some water, like a glass, at least a cup of water. Put that because it's very acidic, that apple cider vinegar, and can actually burn your esophagus. So you do not want to take apple cider vinegar alone. But and the other thing with apple cider vinegar is you need to make sure that it's true apple cider vinegar, because we have apple cider vinegar in the grocery store that says apple cider vinegar. It tastes like apple cider vinegar, but they've taken all the good ferment out of it. So you want to make sure that the bottle that you buy says it contains the mother. So every ferment has a bacterial culture that is named something different. So with kefir, it would be kefir grains you would see that does the fermenting. That's what the bacteria live on, little grains. With a kombucha, it's a SCOBY, which looks like an algal mat. It's like a rubbery mat at the top of the the kombucha as it's brewing. And with the apple cider vinegar, it's called the mother. And so you want to make sure that the apple cider vinegar has the mother, and it will literally say in quotation marks on the bottle, contains the mother. And that's the apple cider vinegar you want to make sure you buy, and put it in water and have it before your meals. So this is a great way for anyone who has an underactive stomach, which is very common as we get older, that our stomach becomes a little less active. Have that about 15 to 30 minutes before you eat, and you'll actually start to feel a little bit of growling in your stomach. And that's when your body's saying, okay, it's time to eat, and your stomach is ready for food.
I've heard it's supposed to be good for acid reflux or indigestion.
So a lot of people that have acid reflux are actually low on acid, not over acid. And then they have antacids, which just create more of a problem. So one of the things I always ask people to try, which is really interesting, is to try having, and it's scary because acid hurts, right? And if you have had heartburn a lot, you may have some inflammation in that esophagus that you don't necessarily want to be adding more acid down there at this time. But if you only get it every once in a while and you don't have any of that chronic inflammation, think about trying to have that apple cider vinegar in water before you eat to see if you can mitigate that problem, or have a little apple cider vinegar in water after the meal if you have acid reflux once in a while. And it may be a condition of your stomach. So when your stomach, it's about the size of your fist, right? And it sits right here between your ribs. When your stomach, and this is your esophagus going up, when your stomach doesn't have enough acid, it actually has to mechanically work harder, which then puts pressure on. There's this little valve here called your lower esophageal sphincter. And when your stomach has to work really hard and puts a lot of pressure on that valve, what happens is what little acid it has starts to push up on that valve and come up the esophagus. And that's when you get heartburn. But if you had enough acid in your stomach to coat that food naturally, it wouldn't have had to work so hard mechanically and put that pressure. So by adding a little bit of extra acid before your meal, and you can do this with not just apple cider vinegar, if you're having like a little bit of sauerkraut with your meal, or a little bit of fermented beets, a little bit of fermented vegetables, have that right at the beginning, just about a tablespoon's worth at the beginning of your meal, and it can help stimulate that acid production in your stomach and get you feeling a lot better.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gordon would like to know what you think of the Canada Food Guide.
The new Canada Food Guide is so much better. Do we have a long way to go? Absolutely. But if you haven't seen the new Canadian Food Guide, it is light years ahead of where we were before. Just a couple years ago, my daughter, who is 11, she was 9 or 10 at the time, she brought home the old Canada Food Guide, which is the same food guide that you probably all brought home from your elementary school back in the day. It had not changed in several years. And on it, there was the carbohydrates, the proteins, the dairy, and the pictures were cartoon pictures. And I'm sure it was supposed to be a muffin and a bagel, but her interpretation was a donut and a cupcake. And she was like, "Look, Mom, this is what we should be eating." So it was very, very interesting to see the different interpretations from the eyes of a child. And now we have this beautiful picture of a plate where they've actually split different foods into different categories. So there's the carbohydrates, the proteins, the fruits and vegetables. Would I still love to see them split fruits and vegetables into different categories? Absolutely. Because 10 people out of 10 will always eat more fruit than vegetables. But we have to remember that fruit are still high in sugar. Even though they're super nutritious, just one fruit a day, 2 fruits a day is great. That's all we need. We need way more vegetables in our diet. So I'd love to see that split out. And then there's a few foods on there that are really hard to distinguish what they actually are. So that's where I think there needs to be some more interpretation and some better pictures. But overall, super happy. Even if you look at that plate, they've replaced a lot of the white pasta and white bread with whole grain pasta, whole grain bread. So light years ahead of where we were before. So although it's not perfect, I do really love it. I really do love it.
Maybe that's another presentation for the future, how to understand the Canada Food Guide.
Yeah. You actually need a novel to be able to, yeah, get what you need out of it for sure.
We've got a couple more questions here. Corinne had to step away for a few minutes since she wanted to know if anyone had asked about kombucha, and is it good for you? I think you kind of touched upon that.
Kombucha is my favorite. I brew kombucha in big vats in my pantry. I have 2 or 3 going at any given time. I love it, and I have it as a fancy pre-dinner drink, an aperitif, if you will, in a little. Everyone else has, they like their wine and stuff like that. I crave my kombucha every day, so I have my little wine glass with my couple ounces of kombucha to stimulate my stomach before my dinner, and absolutely swear by it. I love it.
It's funny, I get a feeling from conversations, if you're a fan, you're a fan.
And you have to find your kombucha, right? So a lot of people will try one kombucha or one brand of kombucha and they're like, oh, I don't like this or at all. And so they just don't ever try it. But there's lots of different varieties of kombucha. There's kombucha that's made with black tea. There's kombucha that is made with green tea, which is a little more subtle and a little more gentle. It's not as acidic. It can be flavored in different ways. So you just need to find your flavor. If you do want it for digestion, a ginger kombucha is a great idea because ginger is so great and nourishing for the stomach. So starting with that, and you just need a little bit. I tell people to just start with a tablespoon, shoot it back in their shooter before dinner, and have a little fun with it. And 9 times out of 10, I have clients coming back telling me, I crave my kombucha. I crave my fermented foods. When at first they were like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to have anything to do with those foods. They start craving those foods instead of sugar. And if you do have sugar issues, blood sugar issues, and you crave a lot of sweet foods, replacing those sweet foods over time with the sour foods is incredible for changing that microbiome, changing your cravings, and not having those strong sugar, because nobody feels like having something sweet after they've had a bite of sauerkraut, right? It's just not going to taste right. But eventually they go and reach for that sauerkraut as opposed to a sugary bun or a candy or something like that.
Good, that's good information to know. We'll have to give that a try. Our friends from Solvera have said that the residents have difficulty taking 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. Are there any tricks? I know myself, I'm a culprit in at the end of the day. It's like, oh my goodness, I've hardly had any water at all. How does one encourage themselves, or any tips on how do you get those 8 to 10 glasses a day?
Well, one of the things I would do is not necessarily make it just about the water. Herbal teas will count. Coffee and black tea do not, because those are diuretics. So for every cup of coffee and black tea you have, you actually pee a little extra. So you're losing water. So what I recommend is replacing the black tea and the coffee with things that like herbal teas that can taste, and you can get tons of herbal teas that are super nutritious, and add to your nutrient density for the day. Those will count. Adding a little lemon or a splash of actual real cranberry juice, not sugary cranberry juice, something that will give it a little more flavor and make it a little more palatable, because I know it's boring, it's water, right? But we do live in Alberta and it's a semi-arid environment. And so a lot of times we're, moisture is evaporating off our skin. When we talk, we're, losing moisture as well. So we really do need to replenish 8 to 10 glasses of water. So getting it in any way possible and always having it accessible. So not just making it about, I have to go drink my glass of water right now. But like so I have my herbal tea with me. I have my water bottle right here in my office with me all the time, so that I am constantly just sipping all day. And again, for digestion, just a note, you don't really want to be drinking too much fluid with your meals. So you want to make sure you're getting that fluid between your meals, because you will dilute your gastric juices with too much water.
That's great help. We've got quite a few more questions coming in here. Is store-bought is good, or only if it has its SCOBY?
No, so she's talking about kombucha. So store-bought can be really great. What I want you to look for is the sugar content, because kombucha has become really trendy right now. So all the manufacturers out there are looking to make sure that people love it and they want to drink it. So some of the kombucha out in the grocery stores is no better than pop. So you really want to make sure that you're having less than 5 grams of sugar per serving. And sometimes you can get big bottles and sometimes you get little cans. The smaller the can and the higher the sugar content, the less I like it. If you can go to one of the grocery stores that actually have kombucha on tap, where you can fill your own bottle, those brewers are much more naturally brewed batches of kombucha and less sugar in it. Anything that's bottled or canned, you really need to watch. You can get original flavored kombucha that should have no flavoring, which means it's lower in sugar than the other ones. I hope that answered the question.
I've seen those kombucha bars in the grocery store. And Kirti would like to know about what about golden milk with turmeric just before bedtime? I'm understanding that there's quite a nutritional value in turmeric.
Turmeric is really exceptional for inflammation. So a lot of people will have turmeric to reduce their inflammation that they feel. There's a couple things to watch out for. Make sure your turmeric, either you're using real turmeric root or you're getting a really good quality powdered turmeric, spiced turmeric. A lot of the stuff that's in the grocery store may have been sitting around for years in the packaging, and it has lost its nutritional value. So you're basically getting no value from some of those spices on the grocery store counters. The other thing is, it depends on how you do with which milk you use as well. So a golden turmeric milk, using a good quality coconut milk is a fantastic option. Having the dairy for everyone is not an option, because dairy milk can be inflammatory for certain people. So the good anti-inflammatory properties of the turmeric are negated by dairy milk when it's inflammatory for certain individuals. So if that's the case for you and dairy doesn't feel great, or you're finding you're not getting the benefits from your turmeric milk or your golden milk, try a coconut milk and see if that helps. You also, with turmeric milk, you need to enhance it. You can't just take turmeric and it won't work properly in the body. You have to have a tiny bit of black pepper or a fat to get the nutrients from the turmeric into your body. So if you're using like a skim milk that has very little milk fat in it, that turmeric is not getting into your body to have that anti-inflammatory effect. You want to make sure you're using like a full fat coconut milk, or when you're cooking with turmeric, you add black pepper to your recipe in order to enhance the nutrients of the turmeric.
Good to know. Anyone else have any further questions that they might like to ask? I'm just going to go back to chat here. And again, we have Tazima's thank you. Thank you very much. We've got lots of great comments coming in there. If we've kind of run over just a little bit, but if anyone has any further questions, I think we just have one more come in there. Gordon, what do you think about adding aspartame or Crystal Light to water to get your 8 to 10 glasses?
I don't like aspartame at all. At all. Aspartame is a chemical that has been known and in scientific research been shown to actually poison people, and you get really bad inflammatory issues. I really recommend, if you find something that's naturally sweetened with a stevia. I really would rather see even a tiny splash of juice, real actual juice, or a squeeze of lemon, lime, orange, anything like that other than aspartame. Nothing with aspartame. It comes with a whole host of side effects and detrimental issues that come along with it, including cognitive issues, muscular inflammatory issues. I would not put aspartame in my body if anyone paid me.
And it's difficult to find products, even referring back to gum. I can't believe how many packages of gum you pick up and they all have aspartame in them. So yeah,
Absolutely.
try to be careful with that. And you know, my suggestion probably is not well received, but one of the ways that I try to encourage myself to drink water more is I put a splash of brisk lemonade in.
With
Just a little
what? A
brisk lemonade.
lemonade?
And so you get a little bit of the lemon flavor in the water, but I'm sure I'm adding a little bit of sugar into that as well. So
You are, but I would rather see that than you have just a glass of lemonade, right?
or the aspartame.
Or the aspartame. Absolutely.
All right. Well, if we don't have anything further, Kirti has said thank you very much. Very informative session. And yes, it absolutely was. And we do appreciate all the great information. Swati, I greatly appreciate the informative presentation. Thank you, Megan and Kerby and Sanofi Pasteur. So we really appreciate you being here again. Always great information, always lots to learn from Megan. Thank you very much. And again, we will be sharing this so that you have Megan's contact if you would like to carry the conversation offline as well with her website, www.noshoesnutrition.com, or Megan at noshoesnutrition. Megan at noshoesnutrition.com, or her cell 403-992-5827, and I'm sure she'll be happy to provide any further information for you. And also, I'm going to put up a little presentation here myself in just a second, but I also wanted to make sure that you were aware that Kerby Center is open to the public, and that we have been a mask distribution center, so that if you have need for masks, you can call us at 403-705-3175 and arrange to pick up some masks, or if need be, have them delivered for you. But one of the things that in following in line with our presentation and the presentation on Monday with Dr. Neem and Dr. Stanachek about the importance of nutrition. When COVID hit us last spring, Kerby Center had already been committed to ensuring that the needs of our seniors were met. And we continued to do so by pivoting and evaluating the needs of our senior community. And so immediately wrapped up our Thrive grocery delivery program to ensure that isolated seniors were able to get their groceries and medications delivered. And that this program evolved into a free freezer meal delivery, with meals being prepared in the Kerby kitchen and delivered to vulnerable seniors by volunteers. And then with the support of ATCO Blue Flame Kitchen, the program grew and expanded. And this Friday, October 9th, will mark the successful completion of our partnership of 100 meals delivered to 100 seniors over this past 7 weeks with their support. We're also pleased that we currently have a partnership with Cobb's Bread. And we have created a pop-up bread market at Kerby Center every Friday from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for to provide free bread products to seniors. So you can pop down to Kerby Center during that time, and I'm sure you'll find lots of healthy choices in breads for you there at the pop-up market. And we really appreciate Cobb's support on that. And we, because of our commitment and because we've recognized the importance, the Kerby team is working on plans to expand this food rescue program. Even as we are open, there are so many of our seniors that just can't make it out. And so we're looking at expanding the food rescue program to include a variety of foods as well. So stay tuned for more information on that. And also, I wanted to make sure that you were aware that, oopsie, sorry. Oh, what's happening here? Well, for some reason, I seem to be having a blooper. There we go. We also wanted to make sure that also following in line with our presentations over the month of October, that we will be offering a flu clinic at Kerby Center on October 14th, 9 a.m. to noon. You will need to book an appointment, and you can call the 403-705-3246. And don't forget to bring your Alberta Health Card. And then we hope that you will join us for our upcoming presentations throughout the month. The next one, October 13th, will be maintaining mental well-being while in isolation with Padma Ganesh from Alberta's with Alzheimer's Society of Calgary. And then on October 19th, a very interesting presentation with a panel of doctors, medical professionals, to talk about the COVID-19 outlook and the impact of infectious disease on older adults and immunization. And so we have Dr. Jai Hu, who is the Alberta Health Services Medical Officer of Health, talking about the immunization program, Mary Zavo, family physician, and Anjali Acharya to talk about the various immunizations, how to go about getting them, and then we'll have a very interesting panel discussion following that. So we hope that you'll join us for that. And then round out the month, October 30th, with lung health and respiratory infections. And so I think that the importance of the pre-existing conditions and the ramifications of COVID and influenza. And at this point, I would like to thank you very much once again, Megan, and thank you to Sanofi Pasteur for sponsoring our presentations this month. And we do remind everyone that these presentations are free, and if you are interested, Kerby Center is always open and welcome your donations, and you can visit our website to find out how that you can do that. And again, if there's nothing further, I think that we can call this a wrap today. And thank you very much, Megan, and everybody for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you the next one.